Hi everyone, my name is Chevelle Rodriguez and I'm a board certified anesthesiologist assistant, and my goal is to be a millionaire. If you're interested in how I'm going to do that and different things I'm considering, stick around for the video. Of course, if you haven't already, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, that you like this video so I know you want to see more videos like this, and you comment if you like what I say or have any questions about what I say. So why do I think I could have $1 million working in this field? So something to keep in mind: for my first year of working, I've made over $200,000. And I believe if I just keep that same pace that I did for my first year, a little less, I could be in that ballpark more or less every year for the next 10 years. So even by year 5, I should have made $1 million. However, keeping $1 million is a completely different thing. So that's why I want to invest and hopefully outpace inflation and have $1 million in my investing accounts by the age of about 45 for me. So I initially thought maybe I could do this by 40, but there's things that I've been thinking about, so I think 45 is a more realistic goal for me to get that amount in today's money. So keep in mind my story. My parents are farmers. Growing up, I was working on my parents' farm. I would do all kinds of hours as a child. I would go to school with dirt on my hands. We slept in the car sometimes. It was rough. So it's not like my family is super well off and I'm just inheriting $1 million. I had student loans that I'm pretty much completely done with. I'm just giving back now to my family because they did help me. And other than that, I'm starting from invested in my Roth IRA 2 years in a row, and I've also invested in my 401k. So I'm building my financial retirement nest egg. So it's not like I'm coming for money. So keep that in mind. With these goals, I do have to invest a significant amount, but I think it can be done even though I don't come from a lot of money. So how do I plan to have $1 million invested within about 10 years? So there's 3 accounts that I'm focusing on. I use a taxable brokerage, I use my 401k through my job, and I also invest in my Roth IRA through the backdoor approach because I am over the income limit, and I'll explain that in a little bit. So a taxable brokerage, what is that? Think about Robinhood. This is a company that has an account that you can open and invest in. So it's kind of like your savings account in a way. It's just an account within a company that you put your money in. But with this account, my money goes into the taxable brokerage, and then I pick stocks and then I invest into those stocks. So that's pretty straightforward. There's no fancy tax benefits from it. There's no income limit. So that's just straight into that account. I don't have to think about like anything too crazy with like, should I do it before or after taxes? It's after tax money. I put it in. When I take it out, I'll have to pay taxes on it. So again, think of that kind of like Robinhood. I think people are more familiar with that in this generation, but I use Fidelity. A lot of people use Vanguard. Some people use Charles Schwab, but for me, I use Fidelity. I find it to be pretty easy to do. I started off with Fidelity because they had like a promo going and I just stuck with them. It's pretty easy to do for me. So that's what I do for my taxable brokerage. So my 401k is through my job. I invest $20,000 to now $22,000 per year. So that money is before I even see it. It does not go into my account, go straight into investing. And then at the end of my retirement age, I'll take that money out and I'll have to pay taxes on that money. But I will skip paying taxes one time versus the taxable brokerage where I pay the taxes in the beginning and in the end. So for the 401k, I do not pay the taxes in the beginning, but I would pay the taxes on it at the end. So that's done through my job. Now my favorite account, the Roth IRA. Again, these are all accounts. For example, think of a checkings account, a savings account, the Roth IRA, the 401k, the taxable brokerage. It's all different account names. So it shouldn't be hopefully too confusing, but the Roth IRA is a different account. With this account, I have paid taxes on this money already, and now I will invest it. And when I take it out, I should not pay any taxes. They do want to kind of change the laws around it, but for now, this is the law. I put the money in after taxes, and when I take it out, it will be without taxes. So if this grows to be $1 million in 30 years, how it is today, I should not pay any taxes on that. I could just take it out, as I want to. So that's super cool. I do a backdoor approach, which is much more straightforward. I do want to do a separate video on why I like a Roth IRA and how I did a backdoor Roth IRA. But to keep it moving, the Roth IRA limit is around $6,500 for this year. So I've done that about 2 years in a row. Again, I've done my 401k. So I have about $30,000 invested. So that's my starting point moving forward for the next 10 to 12 years of my life, pretty much. So now that I've talked about the accounts I invest in, I want to talk about what I invest in. So yes, I put that money into my accounts, the taxable brokerage, the Roth IRA, 401k, but then I have to select the stock I want to invest in. That's something that people sometimes don't do. Sometimes people transfer the money in and then they forget to actually pick a stock. So if you're doing this, not that this is financial advice, I would make sure that I pick a stock after I put the money into these accounts. Why do I pick the S&P 500? That is the 500 most successful companies in the US. On average, it has a 10% return. It has been a little bit slower within the last year, but this is an average over like 60 years, 50 years. It's about 10% each year, so I'm super happy about that kind of return. No one can really predict that it's gonna keep returning that amount, but given the fact that it has a history of returning this amount, that's what I'm gonna go off. It's also relatively inexpensive to just buy the S&P 500. The fees are lower. My boyfriend actually invests in a retirement date fund, which has higher fees, but it changes the distribution of what he invests in. For me, I'm going to do it manually because I have more or less an understanding on what I want to do. And it's technically a bit more aggressive to just stick with that. But there's this book called The Simple Path to Investing. And this investor, J.L. Collins, he writes two different phases in life. One is the wealth accumulation phase and one is the wealth preservation phase. And so being in the wealth accumulation phase, I want to be a little more aggressive and build up that money. So that's why I choose this stock. And in the wealth preservation phase, obviously you want to start being a little more cool down with the choices within your investing. So that will be in the later stage of my life. But for now, I want to accumulate wealth. So this is what I pick. So for now, I just do the S&P 500, 10% return. It's also super easy to do from my computer, especially comparing it to real estate. It's not like I have to go find a handyman to fix something. I just transfer the money and then I invest in it really quickly through my computer or my phone, and it can be automated as well. So I feel like it's very low effort to invest in this and hopefully get that 10% return. Also keep in mind that I think over the average inflation is around 4%. So this historically has outpaced inflation. So I really like the history and returns on this stock. I don't do really individual stock picking. I actually did that like one time as a student with like $50. I did not know what to do. So I just do this. It's not fancy at all, but hopefully it gets those same returns that it's had for the last 50 to 60 years. So will I invest in real estate before this goal is reached, or will this become a part of my goal? So for now, I'm not planning on any real estate investing. I really like this account on Instagram called Strive with Kristen, and she paid off her loans very aggressively and she has invested her money after paying off her loans. And she recently purchased a rental home. She mentioned that getting this home has been similar to having a taxable brokerage. She feels like it's not really that much more profitable than a taxable brokerage, and it seems to be a lot more effort in my opinion, so I'm happy to not do that. Once I have more money for potential repairs or possibly even more time, I think having a home is something I would consider, especially an investment home. But for now, I don't want to deal with that. I think it's just easier for me to do things from my computer or from my phone and do my investing that way than constantly go over to the house and try to fix repairs or deal with tenants, deal with real estate agents and different kind of things. Maybe when I have more time, if I went part-time after I reached this goal, I would look into it. But for now, that's not something I think I have time for. If you can do it, I respect it, but that's not for me right now. So next thing, I want to have $1 million. Why did I come up with $1 million? I estimated my living expenses to be about $40,000 a year. And so I calculated that by 25 years. And so that's $1 million. So if I want to do a retirement of 25 years, I would need $1 million in today's money. My initial goal for $1 million was for when I was 40 years old. And I do believe that my account can read $1 million by that age. However, will that $1 million mean the same as $1 million in today's money? That's my question. So inflation-wise, it has been super aggressive. So I would put inflation around 5%. I estimated inflation to be 5% year over year for the next 14 years. Also, my contribution would be $60,000. I actually think I could probably on average put more than $60,000, but I don't know what's going to come up with life if I have to help family or I work a little less, things like that. So my average contribution of $60,000 over 14 years, inflation of 5%, and then also a rate of return on the S&P 500 of 10%. This is what I put into a calculator. And so I want to have $1 million in today's money. And so that calculated that it would take 14 years to get to that point. My account would read over $1 million, but if inflation keeps going the way it's going, or even if it's at the same rate as it has been, it should be over $1 million in my account to be equivalent to $1 million in today's money. And so that's what I'm looking at, because in today's money, I would potentially need $1 million to keep my lifestyle sustained. Essentially, I'll need more than $1 million because of how aggressive inflation has been. And so that's closer to a $2 million mark. So I think for me, that would be more so when I'm around 45 years old. A little past 40, maybe 45 years old is when I think I could reach that amount as long as I keep investing. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is early retirement. Keep in mind, $1 million is what I calculated is what I needed for 25 years. And let's say I'm 45 years old. So I calculated that that would last me about 25 years. But right now, the average life expectancy is around 80 years old. What do I do for those other like 10 years that I'm missing? Right? Yes. So, so what do I do for the 10 years that potentially I've run out of money? So for me, in my opinion, that's why even though I could potentially retire, I would still want to have some sort of part-time work so that I can keep up with cost of living. So there is this one couple that I really admire. They're on YouTube. They're called My Rich Journey. They got their retirement amount by the age of 40 to 42, I think. And they went over to Portugal. Portugal has lower cost of living. They have health insurance that's covered. And they've been in Portugal. They've started a couple properties, Airbnbs, and that's what they've done with their retirement. So I think they've definitely slowed down, but they've also done a few properties and things to keep making money or to keep up with their cost of living. They're YouTubers, so they still work part-time. I think that's much more realistic because you do want to keep up with your cost of living expenses so that hopefully you don't eat into that retirement money too soon. I don't know how my life would technically look, but I think part-time work would become more realistic. Possibly, maybe I can move to a different country, although I don't think my partner wants to, but that's a potential consideration. Or at least like keep up with the cost of living and take care of that for a couple more years until letting that retirement money grow and then maybe slowing down fully past that. I don't know when that would be, but I think it would take a little bit more than the age of 45 for me to fully stop working. Other things to consider, health insurance is also expensive in the US. And so it is nice to have a job that would cover health insurance. And so that's another reason to keep working. Although again, people can go to different countries, like in Bali, like the cost of living in Thailand, it would be much different than being in the US. And so that's something that could be possible. But if I want to stay in the US, I probably would want to work part-time to a degree, have some money for my cost of living in case my family needs something, but also have my health insurance be covered. And now the third thing about early retirement is I truly feel so happy with my job. I feel like my life is pretty much amazing. This is like the happiest, the best it has ever been. So I don't know if I would fully want to quit working by the time that I'm 45. We'll see, things change, but I think the way it is right now, the only thing I really want is more time to spend time with my family, with the people I care about, spend more time on my health. I do feel like I'm more or less pretty good about going to the gym, but I could always be a little bit better. So I don't think I'm running towards necessarily an early retirement. And I think I would be bored. I'd probably have to do something. But those are the three things that I'm considering with how realistic it would be for me to completely stop working at the age of 45. I think it would be more so a little bit more work optional. So that's the way I see my life at 45. And we'll see, maybe I'll have more time to open up more states. That would be super cool for the anesthesiologist assistant profession. I appreciate everyone for staying tuned for this video. I obviously really like personal finance. I do my best to integrate a little bit of it in my channel. If this is something people want to see more of, please let me know. Also, please make sure to hit the like button. I am literally filming this before I go to work and have a busy day. I'm doing overtime at work today, so I'm trying to squeeze in time for my YouTube channel and this YouTube community. So please show that appreciation by hitting the like button. And I hope that I see you around next week, so please make sure you subscribe. Other than that, hope you have a great week, and I'll catch you some other time.